Hey, it's your old pal Lucid Stew again, and this is Stew's News, a review of American high-speed rail happenings over the last month. In this August 2023 episode, we'll be looking at what went down during July. As always, let's start with California high-speed rail. The House Appropriations Committee Subcommittee for Transportation, Housing and Urban Development and related agencies has forwarded a bill that includes fiscal year 2024 transportation funding. We'll go over the parts that could most affect high-speed rail, but let's start with California high-speed rail. No federal funding for you. Very little chance something like this gets past the Senate, but it shows you where House Republicans are leaning if they manage control of both houses of Congress. Beyond the California targeting, you have RAISE, mega and capital investment, transit and infrastructure grants taking a hit. In a high-speed context, RAISE grants are typically smaller grants covering grade separations and transit stations. The capital investment grant program is specifically for transit, could apply to high-speed rail, but you'll mostly see it on the NEC where Acela shares right-of-way with other transit. The Federal Railroad Administration, Amtrak, and Intercity Rail also take a sizable hit with this funding plan, basically all the things that fund intercity and high-speed rail. The only exception is the CRISI program, which has broad application to rail. However, it's a small program at $283 million for the whole country. All this will likely only amount to Republican posturing, but we'll keep an eye on how appropriations advance next month. Thanks, Uncle Sham. Now back to California high-speed rail. Finance and Audit Committee goodness, the big news is that Construction Package 4 is officially below the late line, so barring a miracle, you can kiss August 2023 completion goodbye. The current trend line pushes that into 2024. Can you say 6-month delay and 2030 Merced to Bakersfield ain't happening? I knew you could. Capital outlay budget summary: $145.8 million expended in May of 2023, up about $20 million from the month prior and steadily improving. Still needs to be closer to $200 million a month to meet their meager schedule. Design build expenditures rising, another trend line for you. Performance is nothing special now, but looks like they might get to an on-schedule pace by the third quarter of this year, 2023. Construction labor force still increasing. Risk contingency is holding up nicely, so while they continue to be behind schedule, it appears this is not affecting the budget. This is a good sign they've finally gotten a handle on that, which is important because budget and funding are their biggest issues by far. Nothing new in progress or completed as far as structures and guideway go in May. Got some screenies for you. The authority released a bunch of conceptual station renders, so let's take a look north to south. This is Merced, nice cutout so you can see what's going on with the layers. This site has what you call potential. Merced does have a cute little downtown area a few blocks away. Can this spur enough development to connect the two? Next up, Fresno, pretty big station, pretty cool looking. This is street level, south side of the station area, which is really dumpy right now. So maybe same thing, they're looking at the potential. Gotta love how they infill random office building outlines. Fresno does have a sizable downtown a few blocks to the north, but a lot of it is low-rise government and the rest could use some help. Now my favorite, Kings Tulare. It's a platform and a parking lot surrounded by farms. It's even low effort on the theming. Yay, California! Look at the ridiculous amount of people they have milling about. Without exaggeration, that's equal to the projected daily ridership out of this station, which is around 600. They even have people chilling out on the tracks. A few people are levitating. The Sims in the back are walking in the middle of the road, checking out some vegetables. Finally, Bakersfield. This is my actual favorite. It has more of a sci-fi vibe. Almost feels like part of a moon base or something. But like the others, except for Fresno, there's just not much around it. And huge parking areas, not exactly urban. Forgive the incongruity, but this was a late addition. The California State Department of Finance put out new population projections, and they're not good. So 7 years ago, they were thinking the population of California would go from 39 million to 52 million by 2024. 7 years later, we're still at 39 million, and now the population is projected to be around 40 million in perpetuity. This means ridership projections will go down again. The cost of equivalent infrastructure to match demand will also go down. Looks like 128 billion is even worse of a deal now. If the population of the state isn't going to change and the current infrastructure is adequate, what is the purpose of California high-speed rail beyond the environmental impact? All I can say is that if you thought the 2023 update, which revealed they no longer have funds to cover Merced to Bakersfield, was a bombshell, well, let's just say the 2024 business plan is going to be a fascinating read in about 10 months. With that, we will say goodbye to California high-speed rail and say hello to Brightline West. More big news, Brightline West got a FONSI. That stands for Finding of No Significant Impact, which means Brightline doesn't need a more thorough environmental impact statement for the Rancho Cucamonga to Apple Valley portion of the Brightline West project, and are now clear to start work from the federal standpoint. A couple of things stood out in the errata memo. First, definitive confirmation that Brightline West will be running on 60-minute headways, not 45 minutes. The change is to better coordinate with Metrolink trains at the Rancho Cucamonga 8th Street station because they really want to be able to pull traffic in from Los Angeles with as little inconvenience as possible. Second is the mention of compatibility with the Interstate 15 express lanes. This will share the current median of Interstate 15 between Foothill Boulevard and Duncan Canyon Road in San Bernardino County. As a result, this median that looks nice and wide as it crosses Foothill Boulevard will get just a little narrower as the Brightline West tracks fly over from the left side of your screen and join those future express lanes. Those express lanes will terminate here 6 miles up the interstate at Duncan Canyon Road in Fontana. After that, Brightline has the median to themselves. That project is supposed to also start later this year, so it should be interesting to see how that affects construction of Brightline West. Now let's take a look at Acela and the NEC. The Hudson Tunnel project entered the engineering phase of the Capital Improvement Grant Program process and will likely get as much as $6.9 billion when the grant process is complete. This $17 billion project aims to build 2 new tunnels between New Jersey and Manhattan, just south of the current North River tunnels. This will allow rehabilitation of the 113-year-old North River tunnels without affecting service on the NEC. This will also increase reliability and allow expansion of throughput when combined with other later improvements. Construction of 2 new platforms at Baltimore Penn Station are nearing completion. Those will be Acela exclusive platforms as part of the Baltimore Penn Station overhaul. Amtrak has commenced $124 million of NEC track work. This will update 25 miles of track, replace 40 track switches, and include 200 miles of track surfacing. Work will take place throughout the NEC over the course of the summer and is aimed at improving reliability and on-time performance. Now let's refresh ourselves with Cascadia high-speed rail. About the time I uploaded Stu's News last month, Washington Department of Transportation published their ultra high-speed ground transportation status report, but no one caught it and there are no self-boo-boos, so you get the information now. The main thing I wanted to cover about this project is its absolute snail's pace. They've been running studies and study reviews for 7 years now. They spent the last year mostly planning how they were going to plan the thing. They're hoping to get $200 million in grants to do a more in-depth study, which they hope to complete 2 to 5 years from now, and then they'll decide if they want to build it. Just for perspective, if things go according to plan, Brightline will build Brightline West in the time it takes the various Cascadia governments to decide if they want to build their train. You can see this lackadaisical attitude in their quote-unquote North Star guiding principles, none of which are things like build fast, or build inexpensively, or build something people will like. Anyway, here's what they plan to do in the next year. It includes 5 months to develop terms of reference to govern roles, responsibilities, policies, procedures, reporting, and communication of coordinating structure. Bureaucracy. So yeah, don't expect to hear much progress. Speaking of progress, we have a contender throwing their hat in the ring, Tennessee. The Tennessee Advisory Commission on Intergovernmental Relations put out a new report for June in which they advocate applying for the Federal Railroad Administration's High-Speed Rail Corridor Identification Program for a corridor from Nashville to Atlanta via Chattanooga. The Atlanta-Chattanooga portion already has a completed environmental impact statement and record of decision, so we could be talking about the Nashlanta corridor or something like that in the near future. Although the possibility does loom that we're talking about the 110 mile per hour federal variety of quote-unquote high-speed rail here. The record of decision for the Chattanooga-Atlanta route talks about quote, greater speeds than traditional passenger rail, end quote, but doesn't spell out what that means, so we'll have to wait and see. Another one. Michigan put $20 million toward high-speed rail in their latest state budget. No one seems to have a clue what they're going to do with the money. Keep in mind, just to get a line partially up to a 110 mile per hour standard is multiple billions. Just when I thought I was out of Texas, they pull me back in. The North Central Texas Council of Governments will be officially starting the process of getting environmentally cleared for a high-speed rail project between Dallas and Fort Worth along 32 miles of Interstate 30. Super short for a high-speed rail line, right? You know what would make that a whole lot better? High-Speed Rail Alliance has a virtual conference for this on August 4th, by the way, if you watched this before then. Now it's time for Stu's Boo-Boos, where we take a look at what I missed last month. As mentioned, I missed the Washington Legislative Update Report for Cascadia High-Speed Rail. However, there are no self-boo-boos, and since you guys missed this fairly obvious boo-boo, you lose a gold star. But no worries, you get it back with this next boo-boo. Raise grant announcements dropped at the end of last month. Brightline will get $25 million for work on Brightline West stations at Hesperia and Apple Valley. Let's also quickly address this station render in the article. This is of the Apple Valley station and provided by Brightline. This shows the platforms in the median, however, the environmental impact statement reevaluation shows the track on the east side of the freeway going through their planned maintenance facilities there. Which is right? I guess we'll see now that the station's mostly paid for. Up next is a $20 million grant to help upgrade the historic Fresno train station and entrance plaza. This will cover about 2/3 of the planned work here. This will be part of a complex that will include the actual high-speed rail station. Another of my favorite render type, where dozens of people are milling about for no apparent reason. Also odd is that they left out the high-speed rail station, which will loom hugely over this scene. Big thanks to Josh Ingram 2636 for pointing those out. To show my gratitude, I'm going to give a gold star for each grant, bringing the total to 5. Can you guys stay ahead of me in finding boo-boos? We shall see. As always, if you find any boo-boos in this presentation, point them out in the comments. If it's a good one, you win a prize. More Federal Railroad Administration high-speed rail corridor videos, more high-speed rail city pair videos, and of course another Stu's News in 4 weeks at the end of August. But that's all for now. Until next time, I'll see you on that big beautiful freeway.